And here we are, and Angelina Ireland is going to present for us, and thank you so much for coming out this afternoon. You probably all know, but Angelina is the president of the Delta Hospice Society, and she is fighting a battle for life and death to protect the elderly and the infirm from the ravages of a government gone insane that is demanding not only that people have the ability to choose to end their own life, but that every facility, a care facility that's been paid for by private funds, must participate, because they're never satisfied to have anyone sit on the sidelines. They want everybody to get in step, and fortunately Angelina Ireland has not agreed to get in step with the death culture. She and her society are standing up for life, and we appreciate that so much. And Angelina, thank you for joining us. Let's have a little round of applause for Angelina. We look forward to hearing what you have to say.
All right. Hi, everybody. I guess I got to use this.
Use that as
I'll use, is this better? This is better. Okay. Let's get started here. Just got to figure this out for 1 minute. Okay, I'm not a great techie, unfortunately, but I had some music here. You hear it? That's my intro music. Anyway. Supposed to get everybody real riled up. Anyway, let's continue.
We're riled.
You're all riled up. Okay. So, thank you so much for having me here this afternoon. I really appreciate it, being asked to come and speak and tell you our story at the Delta Hospice Society. But before I begin, I want to make sure that, because we're all friends, that I have full disclosure with everyone. Okay, my name is Angelina Ireland. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a Christian, I'm a conservative. I'm a straight, white, biological female. I am pro-life, pro-family, pro-God, and pro-gun. In other words, I'm an enemy of the state. Okay. I have been trashed by the Vancouver Sun. I have been trashed by the Globe and Mail. And all I have to say to that is thank you, Lord. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to honor you, to stand up in the public square, to defend the sanctity of life.
Hear, hear.
And how did I get here? Oh my goodness. Well, I started at the Delta Hospice Society about 6 years ago, and I was there as a patient, as a client, actually. I was going through my journey with cancer, and the help that they gave me at the Delta Hospice Society just made that journey a little bit easier. And I said that if I was lucky enough, by the grace of God, to win this battle, to get through this, I would do what I could to help support the Delta Hospice Society. And I was in the supportive care center, which I will explain to you later. The services that I had were in the supportive care center, and thanks be to God, I never made it to the hospice portion. But some of my friends did, and some of my friends passed away there. So for me, this struggle is very personal. It's something that I give my heart and my soul to, because it is just that important. And over the years, I ended up being on the board of directors for the hospice, and then after the last AGM, they elected me to be the president of the board of directors. So that's how I got there, at the Delta Hospice Society. The society itself started about 30 years ago. This is our founder, Nancy Macey, and she started this idea about hospice and palliative care on her kitchen table. And over the years, she was able to gather people together that were like-minded, that were concerned about taking care of people in their last days. And she ended up, about 10 years ago, being able to build buildings and put them on land, a hospice and a supportive care center. And 10 years ago, the province of British Columbia wanted to be our partner, because we were a hospice and a palliative care facility. But fast forward 10 years later, now they don't want to be our partner because we're a hospice and a palliative care facility. So this is what we believe. We believe the hospice isn't a place people come to die. It is where they come to live well for the little time they have left. It is a place of celebration, connection, comfort, and support. It is a place of safety for the dying and the grieving. And this is the Irene Thomas Hospice. And the Society fundraised about $9 million to be able to build this facility. It is a state-of-the-art hospice. It is a flagship of all hospices across Canada. People have come from across Canada to check this place out and see what they could do when they're creating their own hospice spaces and palliative care facilities. This is the front of it, and this is inside as you walk through the door. So it's a very open space. The kitchen and where people eat on the side. And this is a space which is not only for patients, but for their families. Their families can come and are welcome to spend the time with their family that are there during their last days. This is a library, and this is one of the actual rooms. And you see it's very spacious, it's very light. There's a lot of light that comes in. And one of these couches here is actually a bed that you can pull out, and you can stay to be with your loved one overnight, however long is required. Usually people are there for anywhere from 3 weeks to a couple of months. It's usually a short-term stay. And this is the supportive care center. And this is where we have bereavement programs for people suffering with cancer, therapy, other programs. Everything is operated out of the supportive care center. So the two buildings we built for $9 million 10 years ago. And one of the things that helps us to put these programs to the public for free is our shop. It's a secondhand store, and the revenue that comes out of there, it all goes to, like the net income, if you will, all goes to the programs that we offer the community. Now this is Dame Cicely Saunders, and she was the founder of the modern hospice movement. And I'm going to go through some of this stuff with you so that you understand what hospice and palliative care actually is. And she was from London, England, and she introduced the first hospice, what we know to be hospice care. It's about living with dignity and treating total pain. So physical, spiritual, psychological pain management and symptom management. Most hospices up until this point were actually religious orders. And what she did was she brought the discipline of palliative medicine up to an institutional level. And it's interesting to note that Dame Cicely Saunders, she started out as an agnostic. And by the time she was finished, she was a full-on Christian, understanding the importance of God. These are people's last days. And she said that God called her to build a home for dying people. And she was to combine scientific knowledge with care and love. And this was a very new approach to the end of life, where doctors would team with an actual team of people to relieve where they couldn't heal and to bring hope and consolation to the end. Now, this is Dr. Balfour Mount, and he's actually the father of palliative care. He's a Canadian. And we're really proud that Canada has had such a great influence in the whole discipline of palliative care. And he operated out of McGill University in Montreal, and he actually worked with Dame Cicely Saunders. And I've got a letter that he's written very recently. He's an older man now. He's quite infirm, but he's very, very concerned about what's happening to sort of his life's work. And he said, the vision that Cicely and I shared was that of a new medical discipline and community culture of care that enabled living fully at the end of life while minimizing the symptoms and fears of the dying process. It was never to intentionally hasten death. For over 4 decades, palliative care has been providing expert medical management to assist and support those who are dying without hastening death or administering a lethal dose of drugs to end life. So Canada, we have a proud tradition of humanitarian medicine, that is respected throughout the whole world. And the World Health Organization recognizes that palliative care is defined as not hastening death. Over the years, Canada has developed a strong infrastructure of hospice palliative care facilities within hospitals and private organizations like the Delta Hospice Society. And honestly, what we have created is a national treasure. It is a gift to humanity. But what's happening is an absolute book burning of this beautiful treasure. And this happened about 4 years ago with the Liberal Trudeau government when they brought in medical assistance in dying. It was a federal bill introduced by Trudeau, and it was to amend the criminal code. So basically, it was to allow nurses and doctors to help people kill themselves, and they would not be criminally implicated. This was non-culpable homicide, and they would not be charged with murder. You have to be at least 18 years old, mentally competent, and have a foreseeable death. And what happens is most of this MAiD or euthanasia is done with an IV. Doctor will come in, takes about 20 minutes to kill someone, and the doctor gets about $400. So a life is worth about $400 now in British Columbia. Currently, about 1% of Canadians have chosen MAiD. In British Columbia, and particularly the island of Vancouver Island, leads the nation in the number of people who are euthanized. So people keep telling me, Angelina, it's the law. You have to let MAiD in there. Let me tell you what the law is. The law is that there must be access to euthanasia within your community. The law is not that it must be in every facility. The Canada Health Act tells us that medical services are not required in all medical facilities. For example, in Delta, we have no place where you can have a baby. Oh, there's a hospital, but they don't have that service. There's no maternity service. So if you want to have a baby, you have to go to Richmond or you have to go to Surrey. But when it comes to death, the government forces it to be in every single facility, in every bed that the provincial government runs. Access to the community. Well, we feel that. You can get MAiD about 1 minute away from the Delta Hospice Society. There's the Delta Hospital, and they provide MAiD. You can have MAiD in your home. You can have it at the hospital. You can have it at the beach, on a mountain. You can have it pretty much anywhere, right? But the problem now is that the access to palliative care, that's what's being limited. And even though there was a federal bill called Bill 277, it was called a Framework for Palliative Care, unanimously passed in the House of Commons, that we're going to protect palliative care, and we're going to provide money, and we're going to do all these great things, the federal government said. That bill has been absolutely forgotten. And we are seeing a systematic abuse and disintegration of palliative care in Canada. So the BC NDP is absolutely destroying a national treasure. And I will say that from the moment I get up in the morning until I go to bed at night. And palliative care is undergoing a coercive makeover of that movement. And I've explained to you what that movement was about. And what's happening is they're turning highly trained palliative care professionals into party planners. And what we have is the ushering in of the death industry. Now this is an actual company. It's called A Party to Die For. And you can hire these people, and their website says, pick a theme, plan activities, play charades, dance the limbo, tell dirty jokes, sing and share memories. It's your party, you decide. Perhaps a solemn affair or a black-tie dinner. How about a pizza party? Anything goes. Whatever you choose, make it a meaningful way to say goodbye. And of course the culmination of these kind of parties is the death, right? Like it's kind of weird Aztec kind of tradition. You have a party, then you kill the person. And there's also companies, so happy coffins, here you go. You can actually, design your own coffin. You can make like a car or a beer bottle or a wine crate or something, and they'll kill you and they'll put you in there. And Or there's another company here, they'll help you with your outfit. You can decide. Oh, what would I like to wear to my party, my death party? So they'll set you all up there. Oh, and you can even become a death doula now, right? Some of these people, I don't know what kind of a career they want to have. Well, they can be a death doula, and you can just hang around and when people are getting killed. It's quite popular, actually. And this is one of the death parties here, this fellow, see. And they sing songs, and they have a party. Here he is in his bed, and that's it. And they off him, and that's the end of that. There's another one, another death party, right? These are becoming somewhat commonplace. This is how we deal with it now. You know, the only good death is a euthanized death. What's happening is a desensitization of death. And this is the environment in which we try to operate in the Delta Hospice Society. So I'll just tell you what happened. So you saw Nancy Macey there. She's the founder, 30 years. Well, they fired her. The previous board of directors, they just got rid of her because she was interested in palliative care. Can't have her around. Get rid of her. So they fired her, got her out of there. And what happened was basically a power struggle within the organization. There was a board of directors that wanted to provide MAiD, and there was board of directors that were completely and totally in agreement with what palliative care is, and that we are going to be an authentic palliative care facility. I'll just give you a guess which side I was on. But what happened was last fall, it all sort of came to a head. So we had a board meeting, annual general meeting. You're supposed to, you elect a board of directors. Well, that was such a fiasco. They had to have a second one. So they had to have a second one. And what ended up happening was all the old board was voted off. They were just turfed because the membership, the historical membership understands what palliative care is, does not want their hospice to turn into an abattoir or some kind of a killing facility. So they put on a board of directors that was all pro-life, and they got rid of the old board of directors, right? Yeah. Well, that didn't go over too well in the community. So this new board of directors, on which I already sat, but I was again on this new board, they said, Angelina, you're going to be the president. We're going to have a heck of a time. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for that. This is what we were faced with. We had a full-on attack upon the Fraser Health Authority, from the government, from politicians, from the judges, from community activists, and from mean-spirited bullies. So, we've been a partner with Fraser Health for a good 10 years, right? Very good partnership. But I was summoned to a Starbucks. We didn't even get to sit down with them, for our mediation and our consultation. No, I was summoned to a Starbucks in downtown Vancouver by the VP at Fraser Health, and I was told, you're either going to kill or you're going to be killed. And then I said, well, we're not going to do it. So we said, okay. So they started sending us the nasty letters. Oh, here's the first letter. You better do it. We're going to give you till this day to start. Give us a week. By the way, you have a week. You're going to start killing your patients. So we just ignored that letter. They sent us another letter because the week had passed, of course, and we hadn't killed anyone. So they said, this is what's going to happen. So you better put in MAiD, or you're going to lose your funding. So we didn't put in MAiD. So here's the last nasty letter we got, which basically said, we're canceling your funding. And this was towards the end of February. So we normally get about $1.5 million from the government. And that goes into the beds. So we have about a $3 million budget. So those beds that the government gives us money for, they've now said, we're not going to be your partner anymore. So you just forget. So we said, well, listen, we've always gotten along really well. Why don't we have a compromise? How about we give you back 50% of what you give us, and there's a policy, there's a threshold, and we'll be under it, and we won't have to provide MAiD, so win-win, everybody's happy. No, oh no, you don't. They completely rejected that. No, it's all or nothing. Either you do it or you're going to lose all your funding. So we said, we're not doing it. And so then they said, well, okay, we're not giving you any more money. Oh, and by the way, you built those buildings on our land, didn't you? Well, yes, we did, but we have a 35-year lease. We still have 25 years left on our lease. It was a leasehold. We built those buildings on. Well, you can forget that too. We're going to cancel your lease. Oh, you can't pick your buildings up and move away? Well, that's too bad. We're going to take your buildings and we will put in the euthanasia, and you will never have anything to do with hospice and palliative care again. Finished. So, it's all over the paper. Mr. Adrian Dix, Minister of Health, Adrian Dix, he got up there, had a press conference. He told the whole province that our relationship is over, not going to deal with this anymore. He's going to take our stuff, and then he's going to put in the euthanasia. Oh, and by the way, here, yeah, made everyone know that he's going to take our buildings too. So, this is our private property that we fundraised for, $9 million. And for the government to expropriate our assets is absolutely stone cold communism. And that's what we have become. So here, see, if I was savvy at all, I'd be able to put the music in here, but I would say, do circus. That's what happened. It became a circus. We have been attacked. So they started on the Facebook. Let's get on Facebook and let's make a little group 24/7 and let's bash the society. It was a 24/7 social terrorist defamatory hate group. We'll attack the society, we'll attack the board of directors, we'll attack Angelina Ireland. And if we can attack her and crush her, she's the leader, then we'll be done. We'll win, right? So here we go, some lovely, but the reason they are so mad, not only did we refuse to do euthanasia, but it's because of this little document here. And you may not be able to see it exactly, but what we did was we said, okay, we understand that faith-based organizations are allowed an exemption from euthanasia. Well, we'll become a faith-based organization. And so we would say, this is our constitution, and we're going to put in that this society will function as a Christian community that furthers the biblical principles governed by the triune God. And we will continue the healing ministry of Jesus Christ. And we're going to have a meeting, and we're going to ask our members if they would like to become a Christian society, and we're going to claim the exemption. Because, by the way, palliative care was actually used to be done by Christians anyways. It's a Christian vocation for the last 2,000 years. So this fits very well. And besides, we're all Christians anyways, so is the majority of our membership. So this is a really good fit.
Good for you.
Okay. Well, how do you think that went over? I have never, now I know, the Christophobia, the bigotry, the prejudice, and the hatred that we as Christians are forced, because we have been in the front lines of this now, and we see it for what it is. Mayor George Harvey says he's outraged over efforts to transform the society into a faith-based organization. That's our mayor. They all banded together. They came after us. They publicly and visibly came after us. 2 MLAs from Delta, Ian Payton and Ravi Kalun. The mayor, George Harvey, the MP, Carla Qualtrough. See, this is their little social distancing meeting that they had to have during COVID, right? Because they all had to get together because they had to discuss us deviants, had to figure out how they could, shut us down, turn us off, get us to do that euthanasia thing.
Which one is the mayor? All right there.
He's in the back. So here's Carla here, the MP. Next to him is the mayor, and then the two. You got a BC Liberal, you got an NDP, you got a Conservative, and you got a Liberal, right? They're all on the same page now. Doesn't matter about their political, no, they're on the same page. They hate us.
CHP MLA.
Right? Oh, so these are the sanctions. They all got together. They had to have a meeting. Nobody else was having a meeting. Everything was shut, but they had to get together and have a meeting. So they wanted to call for the resignation of the board of directors. They named me out personally. Angelina Ireland, you've got to resign. They wrote to the province and they said, you've got to audit the society. There's something funny going on there with their finances. Then they threatened to cancel our permissive tax exemption that we have in our store, so that we don't have to pay so much taxes, so that money can go to actually the community and our programs. They went to the media and they went to radio shows and they publicly chastised us. I was on one of those radio shows too. And I said what I say, and I lit the thing up. She had to talk about it for 2 days. People were phoning in constantly. They were so mad. They went on Twitter, they went on Facebook, they posted, they sent me letters, how terrible we are. I got letters from Ian and George and you name it, right? They pulled out all the stops. Then they actually took us to court. We were going to have a meeting, we're going to ask our members if they want to become Christians. Oh no, that doesn't happen here. So they got three petitioners who were actually members of the society that are in favor of euthanasia, and they took us to the BC Supreme Court. And they took us there to cancel the meeting, and they took us there to force us to accept members that they'd rounded up that were pro-euthanasia, that were going to be kind of come into our society, infiltrate the society, and vote for euthanasia. But we're not stupid. Okay, they probably think because we're Christians, right? We must be stupid. But we could see all of the activity that was going on Facebook. On their Facebook page, it was called Delta Hospice Discussion, all getting together. What are we going to do to take these people down? So we saw their memberships come in and we said, no, you can't be a member. We reject your application. Oh, how dare you. So they took us to court. Interestingly, Dying with Dignity Canada has had a very, very big role to play in the trying to get us to take on euthanasia into our hospice. And we saw them having, they're apparently not so bright because they were actually sending us the emails that they were sending to each other. Emails that said, we're going to get into the hospice. The emails that celebrated when we lost our funding. So they sent this other little lovely email which says, your legal costs will be covered. So they said to these petitioners that, go right ahead and take that Delta Hospice Society to court. And if you lose, we'll cover your legal expenses, no problem. One interesting other little bit here is those other politicians were in on the act. Well, also the school trustee was in on the act. The Delta school trustee, Laura Dixon, she was also involved in trying to collect people to become members and get us infiltrated. So we said, nah, sorry, we're not, you can't come here. So she said, oh, that's so terrible. I'm going to get my husband. My husband's a lawyer, and he's going to do the work pro bono. So they got a pro bono lawyer. They're Brad Dixon and Laura Dixon in Delta. This is a family thing. They're all involved. So she's involved trying to get memberships. He's involved doing pro bono legal work for everybody so that they can take us to court. And you know what happened? We lost. We lost in the BC Supreme Court. And we lost badly. This justice, Shelley Fitzpatrick, she said, we can't have a meeting. We can't have a meeting of your members' private society. And another thing, you have to ask the court when you can have a meeting. Oh, and by the way, all those memberships that you rejected, well, you have to accept them. Anybody puts $10 down on the table, you have to let them be a member. So we got pretty much railroaded completely in court. It's BC Supreme Kangaroo Court, as I now call it. But that's what happens. Oh, they were so happy. The whole community was so happy. They had a rally. And at the rally, all the politicians stood up and they said, Angelina Ireland, you better resign. You all better resign. And you got to accept all these people. There's about a few hundred people showed up. And they had a little march for death around the park there. And they all yelled and screamed and had, it was quite professional actually. They had posters that they made up, Dying with Dignity posters and we want choice and save the hospice, save them from what, I don't know exactly, but and a very, very professional campaign, right? Very professional campaign where they had this website, Take Back Delta Hospice. They should call it Take Over Delta Hospice, but Take Back Delta Hospice, incredibly professional, lots of money. Where do they get all this money from? Putting advertisements in the local paper every week. This alone, one of them costs $500. They were putting them in every week for a number of weeks. So my question is, where are you getting all the money from? Well, I think we all know where they're getting the money from. It's called Dine with Dignity Canada. That's what it's called. Oh, and they even have videos. They have professionally shot and covered videos that they put on their website there. So again, who even knows how much that costs, but we can't afford to do that. They have it all sorted out. And then if that's not enough, well, we're going to come after you, Angelina. So here we go. The personal attacks start. There was 3 Facebook groups at one point that were going 24/7, and then they got kicked off, so they had to make up their own Facebook group. So that's fine. And these are the kinds of things that I would call a monster, despicable, disgusting, a religious zealot. Here's a nice lady. She says, you know, I'm a pariah in the community. I'm a bigot. I'm intolerant. Well, here's one. I hear filling your nostrils and mouth with quick-drying cement is effective. You should try it. So here's a lovely lady sending me a little note. I call them my love letters. They post on here. They dox me, right? And they figure out everywhere that I hang out, all the associations that I belong to. So I belong to the Rotary Club. Oh, they said, oh, Angelina Ireland, she belongs to the Rotary Club. I encourage you to write to them and explain how their continued affiliation with Angelina Ireland not only disappoints you, but how it will undermine and lower their hard-earned community profile. And then she actually did go and talk to the president. I'm not a Rotary Club member anymore. That's okay. The other guy, he figures out, oh, she's a Christian. Where does she go to church? They tried to figure out where I went to church. Oh, she's a Catholic. She goes to that Sacred Heart. So they actually sent letters, not one, but numerous letters to my priest. And my priest, he calls me and he says, Angelina, what station of the cross are you on now? That's right. That's right. This is my favorite one, I must say. Angelina Ireland on her way to do the work of Jesus. You see, they just don't get it. That the more that they persecute you, the more that they make you suffer, the stronger you get. The more that they kick you down. This is exactly this is exactly why Christianity has spread throughout the world. And it has lasted for thousands of years. Because we rise when they expect us to fall. So I'll tell you what we did. We said, you know, we can't let this stand, what they did to us in the court. So we're going to appeal it. So we appealed the Fitzpatrick ruling. Because we say that she erred not only in law, because she's trying to force a private society to accept members hostile to its purposes. Allowing people to infiltrate a private society, take over what the historical membership has built up over the years. How can this be what the law says? Another thing, if that's what the law says, then that law is unconstitutional. So now we have a charter challenge against the ruling that came out of the Supreme Court. And we're going to talk to them about how this ruling infringes on our freedom of assembly and our freedom of conscience of a private society. And this ruling not only jeopardizes us, but it jeopardizes every private society in Canada. The precedence that was set by this justice affects everyone. It affects every society, and I'll tell you something else. It affects churches. And we had better make sure that we can strike this down. Because can you imagine the well-organized left, the haters of Christians, the Christophobes, who get into a church and overcome its membership, take its assets? I don't even want to think about it. This is an incredibly important appeals case that we have. And we go to court on October 7th. Anyway, so the circus is over. I'm going to bring you back now to the main event. The main event is that we are still fighting with the provincial government. Our funding runs out as of the end of February. The Fraser Health Authority plans to cancel our lease and take over our buildings and kick us out and put euthanasia into our hospice. The BC government's all for it. Oh yeah, good, get rid of them. We have to silence these people. And never allow us to be a hospice or a palliative care facility again. Now I ask you, this is 10 beds. 10 beds in a medical system of thousands upon thousands of beds. What is it about our magical 10 beds that we have that every politician, that the government, that the justices, that the community is coming down on us and wants to silence us and to steal our stuff? Why? And there has been basically a campaign for about 2 years. 2 years of lobbying against the Fraser Health Authority, against the BC government to just leave us alone. I have reams and reams of letters from MPs, MLAs, good ones, palliative care physicians, doctors, community groups, associations, and church pastors that have been sent to Adrian Dix, that have been sent to the Fraser Health Authority, John Horgan, you name it, plastered them. Nothing seems to matter. Nothing seems to push them from their position. Now the BC NDP knows very well what palliative care is. They have, over the last 4 years, they basically destroyed the palliative care programs that they had. Now everything is end-of-life care. The BC Minister of Health, Adrian Dix, refuses to even say the word palliative care anymore. If you listen to him, it's all end-of-life care. It's very interesting. And like I said before, BC is the highest ranked euthanasia provider in the country. And we face a single-minded, relentless pursuit of euthanasia in this province. Unprecedented. And that's just not happening in any other province. There's no other province which is forcing palliative care facilities to put in euthanasia that is destroying the whole medical discipline of palliative care. So I have a lot of questions. Why is that? And you know what? Something else is going on here. Something else is going on here that we all need to be aware of. And I'm going to leave this with you. And it's called sustainable development. And if you look specifically at sustainable development goal number 12, responsible consumption and production, and population growth in particular, which places pressure on the planet's resources, on the water, on fuel, on forests, on land, on animals, and it's contributing to climate change and challenging environmental sustainability. Us humans are bad. Population growth, population aging and decline, as well as migration and urbanization affect virtually all development objectives that are on top of national and global development agendas. Human beings are bad. We have to cull the human population by at least 15%. There's stuff out there that says 50%, right? We need to understand the motivation behind the socialist governments, the progressives of this country and of this world. That as human beings, our lives have no value, little to no value. We're destroying the earth. And this is what I want to leave with you. This is why I believe that they will not speak about palliative care. Why would you take care of the useless eaters? Why would you allow them to stick around? This is why 10 beds, who has stood as a resistance, is being pummeled by everybody and their dog to try to destroy palliative care in this province. So I just want to tell you, these are the people that stand with me. That's the board of directors of the Delta Hospice Society. Far right here, that's Danielle Martel, Jim Taggart, Susan Rivers, Mark Ruel. Elizabeth Lawson is not there. Kath Palavox is not there. The 7 of us are standing. And this is a David and Goliath fight. But I'll tell you something. We stand united, and we will not bow to euthanasia. And I ask you to pray for us. I ask you to pray for this country, because there's only one being that's going to be able to help us, and that is our Lord. So we ask you to pray for us, to pray for Canada. And we ask you to please pray to God bless Canada. Thank you so much for listening to me today.
Well, Angelina, thank you so much. It's just been such a privilege to hear directly from you. As terrible as the news is, we thank you that you brought us the news. So,
Thank you for having me.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you very much. Just hang on 1 minute. Does anyone have any specific questions that Angelina might be able to answer?
Hi, Angelina. Okay, so the question that I have is that we have seen a lot of moves recently by the provincial government to remove pain medication from chronic pain patients and the elderly. I'm just wondering if you think, because this is my theory, that they're doing this to make life so miserable for these people that they begin opting for medical assistance in dying.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jen. I believe this is a sinister agenda, right? Palliative care, like I said, is a gift to humanity. It is a national treasure to allow people to have the pain relief and the symptom management so that they can, in their last days, have peaceful, pain-free existence and basically drift away naturally. I mean, that is there's nothing more that we could do for a person, honestly. But when you take that away, life becomes brutal, right? Life becomes horrible, and you do suffer. And of course, I think that you would opt for a MAiD or euthanasia. You probably beg for it, right? So yeah, I agree with you.
Thanks again. And just hang on 1 minute. Well, we want to just honor you for your work, your sacrifice, and your willingness to share with us. And don't ever let them win. You're on the front lines, and we're all behind you and cheering for you as you prevail.
Thank you so much. And if you want to join us in the battle, there's a way that you can. And I ask you to become a member of the Delta Hospice Society. It's $10. And what that does is, as a member, you can vote. And you can vote to protect palliative care in our society. And what the opposition has done, and what we will find out from the courts come October 7th, is whether or not we have to accept all these hostile members. And if we do, our only defense is to have lots and lots of members that believe in hospice and palliative care and the sanctity of life. So that may be our last defense. Our last defense is really our Lord. That is our last defense. But, if you want to join us, we ask you to join us to, put on your armor of faith and your shield of love and to walk your faith and to join us in the front lines of this battle. This is the new frontier in the pro-life movement, by the way. That is euthanasia. In the United States, we see now 7 states have allowed euthanasia, and the number is growing. This is the whole abortion thing all over again. We learned a lot in the pro-life movement around abortion that we should use this time around. And what the first thing you need to do, you need to stand your ground and you need to join us. And if you stand your ground and you join us, we will win. I have no doubt about that.
Thank you very much. Thanks again.